Hello, my fellow readers. It's Dark Symphony 777 with another fan fiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story, and finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, the story I am reviewing today is the Big O Final Act by Rika R33. It is 13 stories of Big O fan fiction. And I have to say, I like these stories. I think they're good. They're not great, but they're good. Especially since you have to compare them with like Galaxy 1001D's stories. Kind of, sort of, but I'll talk about that when I get there. So, let's talk about the plot. Well, the plot follows a 13-part story about Paragon City after a new reset where certain things of the world change. So first off, Gordon Rosewater and his son Alex Rosewater, they're just deleted from history. Angel takes their place as head of the Paragon City Corporation, and most importantly, Dorothy becomes human. Oh, and also they all have their memories still intact. Them plus Datsun and also eventually Jason Beck. They all have their memories still around. So, more or less, it's a 13-part series of them having to relive certain events while also trying to move on from their life from the whole big foul incident. And I hate the fact that this sometimes a power stop just like to shut off mid review, especially when you do a good job. Sorry, off topic. Okay, so this story more or less follows Roger and Dorothy slowly falling in love and wanting to tie the knot and everything, while at the same time, underground, there is a new world order that is trying to force a reset from Angel. And I think this is done really well. It's more or less just two major arcs. There's the first half, which covers the new world order, and then there is the second half, which covers everything after the New World Order arc ends, with them combining with Electric City, wanting to explore the world, and also making more technology and everyone getting older and having kids and all that. So, with that being said, I will say that this story has a very different tone from Galaxy's Big O Season 3, and that's because I believe these stories are more following the manga rather than Galaxy's, which more follows the anime. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty significantly sure that these follow the manga, mainly because because I haven't read the manga, but I do know that it's probably more cohesive in its plot. The Rika's stories are more cohesive in everything, and everything's trying to connect to all the other stories in some way or another. While Galaxies is more non sequitur, you can kind of read the majority of them in any order you want, with the exception of the Schwartzwald stories. You kind of have to read those in order. So it does have a more. They have different tones to them. What I'm saying. Sorry, I'm still recovering from being sick. I want to get this specific review over with. I will say this. This story is more consistent in everything, while Galaxies has its ups and downs. It has simultaneously better stories than anything written by this, and also worse than this. This is a good, solid 13 stories. It's very dull. It's not for me, and that's mainly because I don't know much about the manga. I know the Gigaduce comes from the manga and all that, which is why I'm pretty sure this story more follows that. Uh, there is a lot of moving parts. For instance, in this story, this one's more or less just setting this story, the second story, and the third story is literally setting up everything afterwards. Another 10, everything from the first 3 stories is setting up everything in the other 10 stories. Everything kind of interconnects in some way as time goes on and everyone gets older. Like at the end of the story, like Dorothy reaches like 40 and Roger's like nearly 50, and they're not getting old and all that. And Norman is like 80, is like in his 80s. um, so okay, being sick. Okay, collecting my thoughts. I do think these stories, from a plot standpoint, with everything in the first half involving the New Order, them you trying to manipulate everything and tunneling funds in order to awaken the Gigadoos, and also trying to kidnap Dorothy and Angel to try and to essentially force the act, basically make sure they win. So like everything afterwards, where they're trying to like unite the town, unite Paradigm with Electricity, and also trying to wanting to explore the world, but they can't because of technological limitations. Also running into like a rogue scientist that works for the New World Order who's trying to do like his own kill everyone thing, nihilistic sort of view. So like the very end where like they finally got the technology to do that, and they basically like explore the world, and while everyone is like saying goodbye, and we even get like a plot point at the end where like Dorothy suffers from emptiness syndrome and doesn't want her son to leave and all that. I think overall the plot is good. It's not great because it doesn't feel like Big O, which is honestly my biggest criticism for the story. It doesn't feel like Big O, but again, that's justified because the story is trying to be this story is trying to be like the manga rather than the anime. Uh, so yeah, I don't really have much to say. It's this the plot is like very very complicated. It's also very religious in tone. I'm not a big fan of religious stuff. It's just me. Uh, I know that like the anime is like religious, but like this is like super religious with like crit like even like Roger getting like a burn mark in the shape of a cross on his skin and stuff like that. Is there anything worth mentioning in the plot left? No, not really. It's just a really really hard story to quantify for the plot because of just how much set up the first three stories kind of sets up everything, and also I think like the yeah yeah I think that's it. Yeah, I think see. No, I don't think anything. I don't think there's anything else. There's some action. There's most of the plot is focused on like Dorothy and Roger's relationship and all that. Uh, Characters. There's really only like two, three characters to talk about. There's Roger Smith. I'm not a fan of Roger Smith in these stories. He kind of feels emasculated at times. Like he's just becomes subservient to Dorothy, which again, I think that's more of a difference in the manga and anime because I know like Roger in the anime is like more in control of everything. He's very suave. He's very much a ladies' man and playboy and all that. It's just this doesn't feel like Roger. Again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm just it just feels more like not anime Roger. Like I know, like in terms of like certain mangas and animes, in terms of differentiating themselves, like certain things are changed. I know, like famously, Goku in the Dragon Ball Z manga, he's more of a villain protagonist. He's very very he'll do anything as long as he gets a good fight out of it, even like endangering people and killing people, well, letting them die if it means getting a fight out of it. Well, in the anime, he's more of a traditional shonen hero to the point that Toriyama actually hates anime Goku because it's like, that's not Goku. That's not the Goku I know. That's not the Goku I created. Uh, yeah, that's more or less it. I do think Dorothy is written well. A lot of Dorothy's character comes from the first couple stories because you have to basically rewrite Dorothy because she becomes human and all that, and you more or less so it's more understandable why her character is like completely different from Dorothy I remember because you have to because of how she's just turns from a robot to a human. You have to and a lot of the first two three and a lot of the first mini arc, which is the first three chapters, is front loaded on trying to set Dorothy's character up for like the rest of the story as well as the plot. So she gets a lot of screen time of like her trying to figure out how to be human, trying to get like hobbies, and her and Roger they share custody of the negotiation firm and all that, and then eventually they marry, they have sex, they have kids, and all that. It's fine. Jason Beck's another character that I like to talk about. Uh, I like him. He's more of a showboaty character. He's very hammy. He's still not the Jason Beck in the anime because Jason Beck's more or less a joke character in the anime because his whole shtick in the anime is that he wants to be taken seriously as a villain by Roger Smith, but Roger's like gives like absolutely no fucks and like treats him more as like a minor nuisance than anything else. There is also a bunch of other minor characters. There's the villains, the two doctors. There's no reason to care about them because like they only show up like 2 or 3 times, and they're just anomalous voices that kind of work for Gordon and Alex, creating a new world order. You don't care about them. You don't care about Lucy too because Lucy shows up a bit more, but it's like she's such a nothing character. It's like, oh, she killed 2 kids, but she doesn't show up enough to actually get us to care. Like she has regrets about it, but it's like she doesn't. But we're not interested in that because so much character development was front loaded on Dorothy and Roger and Angel and Datsun and eventually Beck that she kind of becomes like such a minor bit player. Give the credit where credit is due to the anime because I believe that also the anime is like I believe came first before the manga. They did a good job of building up their villains. They care about them, like RD, uh, Alan Gabriel, the Rosewaters, Schwartzwald. We'll get to him, and all that. So I don't really have anything bad to say about the characters. Grammar wise, everything's good in the grammar side of it. Pacing and sentence structure, I do think the story is simultaneously slow paced and fast paced. What do I mean by that? There's 13 stories. This first story is the longest. And then as the story goes on, it gets shorter and shorter. And trying to just it doesn't really flow as the story goes on. Like there are 2 stories that are under 20,000 words, and the majority of the stories is like between 20 and 25,000. I do think that as the stories go on, it does start to suffer from moving way too fast. That's just me. That's strictly a me thing. It does carry that vibe that like it starts off well in the pace department. It has a nice, it's very slow pace because it's trying to set up everything. But once everything is set up, it moves too fast to kind of get us to care about anything. Like how hard was it to give us like more words to kind of get us to know the New World Order or Lucille or get us to care more about Datsun and Angel's relationship? It moves fast for its own good because the author is just so focused on just setting up everything with Dorothy and Roger that it kind of feels everything else starts to feel half baked. But yeah, I don't really have anything more to say about this from that side. Would I recommend this story? You'd have to read the manga. Yeah, you would have to read the manga up until Big Val's defeat because the manga does continue after Big Val's defeat, unlike the anime. Uh, but I think it's fine. I think it never reaches past good, but it doesn't ever really descend into bad. It's just a good, solid, average 13 stories. It doesn't push anything. It doesn't stress anything. I don't have anything bad to say about it, but I don't have anything great to say about it. What would be my favorite part? Well, honestly, my favorite part comes from the third story in the series. So, for context, Dorothy volunteers at a clinic where she takes care of kids and all that. And during, well, not Christmas time, but not Christmas time because they call it something else. Dorothy decides to become a playwright because she falls in love with the book Robin Hood. So she starts writing a little play for the kids to do. It's not really that long, and she makes the costumes, everything, and she as Roger set up everything, and they have like a little play, and it's actually very adorable. Where like all the where like these kids are clearly not actors, and they try to do their best, but they constantly break character, and like they even they even look towards Dorothy. It's like, Dorothy, what do we say next? And everyone starts laughing. It's very entertaining, and it's a neat little plot where like King John is trying to get like his daughter to forcibly marry a knight, and Robin Hood and the merry men without Robin Hood show up. It's like, no, we will not. We will protect the princess, not let her get married. And it's like, oh yeah, well you can't do anything without Robin Hood. Oh yeah, Robin Hood. And we get like a little boy named Michael. He comes through a little piece of paper, a little background prop, dressed in like a little tiny Big O costume called Little O. It's very ridiculous. It's very, very funny, and it's also very adorable. I like that part. It's fine. So, what would I change about this story? Well, there's a couple things. First off, the rating. Most of these stories are not M-rated. There are two, I believe, the second and third story, because those two stories do have sex scenes, which is like Act 28 and Act 29. Those two stories, I believe, have sex scenes, so they kind of warrant the M-rated stuff. But the rest of the stories, they don't need M-rated because there's nothing really particularly adult about it. Okay, this story, fine. The most adult thing you see is the fact that Dorothy references that she has a period. Okay, so plot, like characters having periods, happen in T-rated stories too. I think what Juno from like the mid to late 2000s. That's like a teen pregnancy. Of course, they were going to talk about periods and stuff like that in that movie. But the only thing I can think of why this author did it this way was because the author wanted to make sure no one underage reads the sex scenes. That's legitimately the only thing I can think of. Legitimately the only thing I can really think of. But outside of that, most of these stories don't deserve M-rated. T-rated, yes. M-rated, no. But I can see why. Another thing is, this is not mystery suspense. This is like, at best, Big O at his best is good when it's trying to do the mystery stuff. So mystery makes sense for the world, but not for these stories because there's like barely any mystery. Oh, there's the whole New World Order, but that like barely makes any. It's like barely plays a factor in like most of the stories. Why not just why not romance? Hell, get rid of suspense. This is not suspenseful. Get rid of switch it with romance. Switch it with like spiritual, because as the story goes on, it has like a very religious tone to it. I can take that. I can't take these stories being mysterious suspense because they don't properly emulate that. And one final thing. Michael Seabach. Oh boy. What do we talk about Michael Seabach? Well, in Big O, there's a character named Schwartzwald. He was a reporter for the Paragon City Press, and he found out the truth behind the world, and it drove him mad. So he adopted the identity of Schwartzwald. The anime reveals that he was actually dead for a long time, and his pursuit of the truth was so strong that he actually kept himself alive in spirit. So, how does that connect to this? Well, early on, when Dorothy goes to visit the clinic, we meet a little boy named Michael. You don't think anything too much of it because, Michael's a common name. But at the end, literally with like 2 stories left, we find out that his full name is Michael Seabach. What? That That's a plot hole. That's literally a plot hole. One, at no point in the story before that do they even reference Schwarzwald. Like at no point before that. There's like three stories left before the series ends, and you bring up Schwarzwald. Then I'm sorry, that's poorly implemented. Second thing, everyone reacts as like, oh, they kind of already know it's Schwarzwald. It's kind of a reincarnation of Schwarzwald. That is just poor. No, worse yet, they kind of react like they don't know that's Schwarzwald. It's like, oh, maybe Schwarzwald reincarnated in this boy. Yes, that boy that has the same name as Schwarzwald before he was Schwarzwald. That makes no sense. It's a plot hole, plain and simple. You need to find the easiest way to close this plot hole is just them. One, when Dorothy goes to the clinic, she asks for like the kids' names. The boy who says Michael calls himself Michael Seabach. Dorothy recognizes the name, goes to talk to the Roger after she leaves, says that one of the boys is named Michael Seabach. Roger gets kind of shocked because like they get memories of who Schwarzwald is. We get like a little exposition on who Schwarzwald is in that moment. They realize, well, he's a little boy. There's nothing really. He probably doesn't know who he is. Probably like a reincarnation sort of thing. And that's it. There you go. You close the plot hole. Just reveal who he is early. We're not, as it is right now, we're not given any reason to care. Well, to care who that is. It's poorly implemented to those who know who Schwarzwald is. It's just forced because it's like, why is it there? You don't reference it. You don't reference Schwarzwald at any point until then. You don't. It's kind of presented as a way of simultaneously they know they don't react to the name, like they don't care, and kind of as you need to know, like they already know. It's just that specific thing is just a mess. Anyway, no way you can look at it and not see that's a mess. But yeah, that is Big O the Final Act. It's a very, very complicated, very convoluted at times. It does fit that. It's a very touching. It also has a lot of emotion. It has a lot of character, especially in like Dorothy, or like her learning to be human. It's good, but not great. I don't have anything else to say about it. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.